everyone, and welcome to Be Inspired, a podcast brought to you by Blue Balloon Theatre. I will be your host today, Rebecca Fithian. I'm the founder and artistic director of Blue Balloon, and I am joined in episode 2 by the wonderful Paul Anthony. Hello.
Yay, hello.
Should have had like a little fanfare there, I think.
We should. You'll have to do it in editing. Just put an applause sound effect.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. So, where to begin? I feel like the best place to start would be tell us a little bit about you as a person, as a creative, and what it is that you do.
So I'm based in Manchester. I'm an actor, writer, producer, just anything creative that I can possibly do. I run, is I suppose the correct term, but I run a production company, No Rose Productions, that produces at the moment focusing on filmed content online, so web series, short films. We sort of do want to do theatre, but with the world in its current situation, we sort of let's wait until we can guarantee it wouldn't get pulled. But yeah, just one of those starving artist stories, not yet making a living from it, but one day is the dream.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I relate.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you sort of find that you were interested in a sort of creative lifestyle? Was there a poignant moment within your life that you suddenly went, I want to do this?
Yes, it all just stems from wanting attention, I suppose. So when I was in because I never, in primary school, there were plays, which I was just like, absolutely not. No, I'm not standing in front of people, not at all. Wasn't really interested in anything creative. But when I was in high school, of our group of friends, there was nothing that I was the best at, if that makes sense. So I had a friend who could play piano, and in music class, he was the best. I had a brilliant friend called Jess, and writing was her thing. So like in English class, she was the best. I had a friend who's now a doctor, who science was his thing. And I was like, I don't have anything that I'm the best at. But I used to watch like comedy shows, like sketch shows or sitcoms, and could just memorize lines, because just repeating what funny people had said got you a laugh in the playground. So I was like, there we go. I don't even have to be funny now. I can just repeat what other people have said and get attention for it. And then one day in a drama class, in our groups, we had to put on a scene that was in the style of different genres, and we were given soap. And if you've seen the Catherine Tate show, she does a sketch where she's the Irish mum who is thrilled her son is now gay.
Yeah.
I'd memorized that literally syllable for syllable. And I was like, I'm just going to do that. That's all I can do. Did that in my little scene. Obviously got a round of applause, which was like, oh, this is good. And our English class was also our drama class. So later on in the day, whilst we were in English, everyone in the English class had literally begged the English teacher to end the lesson early so our group could perform our thing again. And she did. And then everyone was really excited about it. And then the following week in drama, they were like, can Paul's group do their thing again? And it was just like, this is a thing I can do. I'm good at this. I get attention for this. So just like, fuck it. Let's just focus on this for the rest of my life. Was told by like careers advisors that, actors spend lengthy periods of time unemployed, and it's not the most stable and obviously being 16, you're just like, I'll make it. I have faith.
Yeah.
And yeah, that sort of, but I suppose before then, like when I was a kid, and even though I didn't know that acting was a job, I remember sort of playing with my brother, and we used to play wrestling a lot. And without, I suppose, not knowing as a child, but now knowing, we were sort of in character. Because if we ever played with somebody else who would do something, so they would say, oh, I'm the Undertaker, and then they'd do a move that we didn't see the Undertaker do on TV, we'd be like, no, you're not playing the part properly. The Undertaker doesn't do that. So I suppose as a kid, I was still, it was there, the idea that, you're playing this character. So there are certain things you do and certain things you don't.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until high school that I decided to put all my eggs in one basket and go, this is it. This is my life now.
Amazing. And so sort of post high school, did you go on to college or uni or even drama school?
Yeah, so I went to college. You had to audition to get onto the drama course at the college I went to.
Amazing.
And because when you're 16, you think, I'm the best actor here. It doesn't mean that you're just the only person who wants to do it. Yeah. So I went to this audition thinking there's no way I'm not going to get in. And I didn't get in on my first try. And I was like, no. So I had to go to college and do other courses for a year and then apply to do drama the following year, which was, I suppose, in retrospect, a nice grounding moment of you're not the best. Stop thinking you're the best. But yeah, and then, so I did college for about 4 years so I could finish drama. Went to, tried to audition for the RADAs, the Lambdas, the Mount Views, all the big ones. And after about 3 years of not getting any of those, I eventually got in at the University of Central Lancashire.
Yeah.
I went there, studied acting there. Didn't graduate though. I left at the very end of my second year, just because I was like, mental health issues sort of happened. And I was like, there's nothing, all that I will get from this is a piece of paper. And I don't need a piece of paper. I know I can do it. So I left, and for a year it was like, what have I done? Have I made a huge mistake? And then I've worked, no more or less than anybody else that was in my year that did graduate. So I was like, I just saved myself $9,000 then, really, didn't I?
Yeah, it's so true. Like, don't even get me started on the price of like going to university or drama schools. It's atrocious, let alone the blooming audition fees. See, I was sort of lucky in respect because my mum and dad didn't work at the time. Okay. There were not all of them, but some of them you could sort of apply for like a bursary to get it to be paid for. Yeah. So some of them I got to audition for free. I mean, the big ones, like I think it was like the Central School of Speech and Drama. They didn't offer you that, and it's like, but you've got the most money. So it was the smaller ones like the UCLans that offered you that. But yeah, it's still like, I think it was like £50. And I was like, to audition. It's insane. I remember. I think, I can't remember which school it was, but I went. I was similar to you when I got to sort of drama school stage. I really wanted to go to drama school. Like that was definitely in my sights. And I remember I didn't get in the first year round, so I auditioned again the second year, and I went to a drama school in London, but I can't remember which one it was. And the audition was over £100. Nah. I was like, this is ridiculous. But because I was so focused and so like, I want this, like I was gunning for it, I just did it anyway. Yeah. And had I not have been working in my gap year, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. So I think as sort of time's gone on since then, I think certain schools, as you've said, there's more bursary options now, which is amazing, really, especially for working class people like myself included. Do you come from a working class background? Would you say? Yeah. So it's really important for those people who maybe don't have the money for the auditions. And then obviously you've got the travel and the accommodation. Yeah, that's it. It's crazy. Amazing. So, I mean, absolute credit to you for like taking that step back and saying, you know what, actually, it is just a piece of paper that I'm going to get at the end of this. I mean, we've got quite a few people within our community who've maybe started at uni or they've started at drama school and they've stopped like a year in or a few months in fact, because they've just realised that it's not for them. Yeah. So, I mean, credit to you for just... And
it's sort of as well, because obviously it gets drilled into you when you're sort of 16, 17 that there are certain schools that if you go to, that is the real way of training, and that's how you get the good work. That's how you become famous. But you go to these schools, and then I've done plays before, and then when the program gets printed, you go, right, where did everybody train? What has everybody done? And then you're working with people that, they went to RADA, and you're like, and yet here we are in the same play, not being paid. So it doesn't really matter where you go. It's just so irrelevant. For a lot of people that I think before they go, they think it's so important. And then after the fact, they realize when they're already in debt, it didn't matter where I went, really.
No, I think it depends on you as a person and your drive and your passion for what it is that you do. And from everything that I already know about you, you seem incredibly passionate about what you do. So I think so long as you have that, doesn't really matter, as you've said, what school you go to, whether you train in drama school or just learn on the job. Like it's entirely up to you. Everyone's journey is completely different.
I've learned more. I've felt like I've grown more as a performer working with other actors and directors than I ever learned at uni. Ever. It's sort of, I'm not a poster child for training by any stretch of the imagination, because every time I've gone to classes or uni, I'm just like, this isn't actually helping me. I know it helps other people, but for me, this just isn't actually helping. I would rather when I've worked with other actors and worked with other directors, it's like, this is how I get better, by working with other people, not by sitting for 5 hours talking about another actor that said this is how to act. And it's like, and I don't deal well with pretentiousness. And when it comes to actor training, there's a lot of that. And I'm just like, I'm literally just pretending to be somebody else. It's not that difficult. Stop making it sound difficult.
I completely agree. I trained at Lipper in Liverpool, and the thing that I loved most about that school was how grounded everybody was. It was so unlike all of the drama schools and unis that I'd been to down south. There seemed to be a real divide between those schools, and it really shocked me. I knew that divide existed, but I didn't think it would be as sort of pronounced as it was. But you're absolutely right. It depends on the type of learner you are as well, I think, because I know for me, I'm a very hands-on, practical person. So if I'm sort of working a job and I'm watching other actors and working with a professional director and team, I'm going to learn so much from listening to them, engaging with what they're saying, as opposed to sitting listening to a lecture for 3-4 hours, as you've said, rightly so. So, it is. I find it fascinating how everyone's got has had a different way into this industry, because everyone's so different, and that's the beauty of it, really. So sort of since you left uni, talk us through your journey since then. Like how have you found working in this industry, because you've done so much?
Just infinitely depressing. So I left uni, and then I just started doing what everybody does, the profit share, where there's never a profit to share, plays, just to sort of build up a CV and invite casting directors and agents who never turn up. And then after about 2 years of doing that, doing the Manchester Fringe a couple of times, it was sort of, right, we need to get some showreel material. Obviously went to classes, all the classes that are on offer in Manchester, but just sort of, to be honest, wasted my money on them because I didn't benefit from them. And had agents, weren't good ones, just sort of done what most actors do. At the time, you think, how is it impossible to have, I've had 2 agents in the past. I'm now unrepresented. I've never at this moment in time had a decent experience with an agent. And then when you speak to other actors, they're like, yeah, I've had about 8 and they're all terrible. So it's like, it's finding the agent that fits, instead of just, well, you're told at uni, don't jump into bed with the first agent that wants to sign you. And you go, okay. And then the first agent that goes, I want you, go, okay.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you were warned about this. And there's a reason, because if the agent genuinely isn't interested in you, you'll know it. Like, I've had calls go unreturned and emails go unreturned for months and months and months before I just take the hint and go, goodbye.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point when I was doing a lot of unpaid profit sharing work, which is fine. You know, it's what we have to do. But I wasn't seeing any work out there that I was like genuinely wanting to do. Mm-hmm. It was, I'm doing it for some experience, to put it on my CV, to potentially invite agents and casting directors. And that is the only reason I'm doing it. There's nothing about this particular character, this particular play that's really, you know, driving me to do it. So I was just like, well, if I'm going to work for free or for very little, why? I'd rather have more control over that.
Yeah. So
I set up No Rose Productions with not really any idea what we were going to do. And then there's a comedian in LA called Roy Cruz, who must be about 10 years ago now, did really well at the Hollywood Fringe Festival, doing a show called Streeptease, an evening of Meryl Streep monologues performed by an all-male cast. So I saw this online and was like, that's what I want to do. So I found an email, like scoured for hours to find an email for this Roy, emailed him and was just like, are you bringing this to the UK? If you are, can I be in it? If you're not, can I put it on in the UK for you?
Yeah.
Then the following day got an email going, yeah, sure, let's bring it to the UK. And I was like, shit. I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, I got a bunch of actors, male actors, booked out Manchester 3-Minute Theatre from borrowing from family members in order to be able to afford it, with every intention of paying them back through ticket sales. I enjoyed it. Everyone who came to see it enjoyed it. Unfortunately, the amount of people that came to see it wasn't quite enough to pay people back, which was fine. Everyone in the family was like, it's fine, don't worry about it. You've got to do something fun, which it was really fun.
Yeah.
But because of how expensive it is to book out theatre and then book out rehearsal rooms in order to rehearse, and before you even get in the room, it was just, I can't fund another theatre show. So I wanted to do some filmed stuff. My brother, who was in Streeptease with me, he went to uni with a guy called Ryan, who'd helped us film some promotional stuff for Streeptease because he has a camera. It said, he could tell you what the camera is. I don't. It's an expensive, high quality camera. That's all I know. So I was like, do you want to do something? Do you want to film something? So he was like, yeah, what? So I was like, okay. So I wrote a web series called Just Mates, 4 episodes. And I was like, let's just film this. And we filmed that with no experience in filming web series before. Nobody on the set, cast or crew, had ever really worked professionally.
Right.
But yeah, we did all right. It was really fun. It was really exciting. We all learned a lot. It went up on Facebook, and I think the first episode's got like 7 million views or something like that.
Oh my God.
It did far better than I was expecting it to do. And then the hope was to go, right, well then, if this is what we can do with nothing, the BBC will want this without a doubt. The BBC didn't want it. They've never responded to a single email I've ever sent them. Neither did ITV or Channel 4, which was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So the plan was to follow up that with just more filmed content. It was cheaper to make. It was easy to make. Because it's not the theatre, people don't need to get out of the house and get off their asses to come and see it. So people will see it. So the hope was just sort of, let's do some online stuff for a bit, build up a following, as it were. And then hopefully when we do come to do theatre, it isn't just our mums and dads in the audience, and people do want to come and see us because they've seen the work we've done before.
Yeah.
So we had another web series lined up called The Auditioners, which was sort of a satire on auditioning culture, which every one of us could sort of relate to. We had a day of principal photography because it was all but the filming dates were booked out. We had a director. We had a fabulous director named Izzy. Venue booked, the lot. We had a day of principal photography, and then the following day we went into the first lockdown.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that never happened, unfortunately. I want it to happen. It's still a big priority of mine. It's just finding a venue that is suitable and that I can be assured will stay open for the length of time that we need to film it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of the last. Then lockdown happened, and who knows what happened there.
Yeah. I know, God. I mean, I respect everything that you've said there, because what I really like about you so far is that if you want to do something, you just sort of do it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how many people it reaches or anything like that. You just think, I want to do it because I can. And I think that's something that we try and do at Blue Balloon all the time, is it doesn't matter what facilities that you have, utilize them. Just do it, because you never know what might come of it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like you were saying, you've contacted BBC, ITV, Channel 4, like, amazing that you've done that. And it is a shame, of course, that they've not taken you up on the offer of having this web series, because it sounds epic. But it's the fact that you've done that anyway, and you've gone, well, you know what, never mind, but I'll just carry on, because if it works for you, it works for you. So that's amazing. Like, that proactivity that you have towards creating work is fantastic. So, I mean, obviously lockdown was very, very tough for everybody, especially us creatives. How did you sort of stay creative in that time?
I didn't, to be honest. And I got annoyed that I was sort of expected to. Yeah. I tried at the beginning. I'd written something which was, I suppose, in some way a little bit of a biographical account of what depression feels like or looks like when it manifests itself in me. Mm-hmm. So we wrote it, we filmed it. It was sort of the whole Zoomy situation where the premise is that it's a guy speaking on Zoom to people as he is sort of slowly going down. Right. And I think there was one scene left to film, and I just did a rough edit of it. And me and Pamela, who runs No Rose with me, watched it, and we were just like, this isn't good. This isn't good enough, shall we say. This isn't at the same standard as work we've done before. Mm-hmm. So I think if you go back through the Twitter feed, you probably see us announcing that something was coming. And then we just pulled it, because I was like, I'm not going to produce shit just so I can say I produced something. Yeah. And then my mental health just sort of, as with most people during lockdowns, it just went down. And there was just a lot of toxic positivity, if I can call it that, on social media, that, come on, guys, you've got to stay creative, And it's like, no, I don't. I don't have to stay creative, because what is happening now does not feed me creatively. Yeah. And then a lot of some people that were producing stuff, it's like, look, we're staying creative. It's like, yeah, but it's not very good. I think a lot of people through the lockdowns were producing something so they could say they had produced something, but it's like, so the way that we'd filmed it is that I'd recorded myself, Pamela had recorded herself, and the plan was to edit it together to look like it had been on Zoom. Mm-hmm. But then I saw stuff where it's like someone had just done this, set up a Zoom, press record, ran a scene, stopped pressing record, and just uploaded that. Look, we're staying creative. And I'm like, yeah, but that looks terrible. It sounds terrible. Because it's Zoom. Zoom was not ever invented to create films or create plays. And I was just like, I'm not. There were some people who did it, who were very creative with it, and you saw stuff and you're like, wow, that's decent. Yeah. But I just didn't stay creative for a good, probably 9 months, maybe even a year. I was just like, no, I'm not. I don't owe anybody to be creative. I'd lost, so just before the lockdown hit, because of the lockdown, I'd lost like 3 jobs that I had. And when you're self-employed and you tell the government, oh, I was self-employed, they go, don't give a shit, starve. So I was like, I don't have anywhere to go work-wise. I don't have any money anymore. I'm going to just be depressed for a little bit, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't stay creative, and I just sort of focused on getting out of bed every day, because that was sometimes the biggest challenge of the day. Just if you can get out of bed, you've won that day.
Yeah.
So that was just the way for a bit. And then as it sort of, I think as I've gotten used to, I've got to a point now when I'm just, let's just say, hypothetically, but it's a huge possibility that this is just life now. The government can tell us on one day, oh no, lockdown, and then we all have to do it. Okay, well, let's just work our way around that. So I just started looking into the rules, which they're not laws, they're just guidelines as to what you can and cannot do. Mm-hmm. And filming can still go ahead. There's nothing to say that filming can't go ahead. So I was like, okay, well, as long as there's guidelines, there's certain guidelines to be put in place whilst you're filming, we'll just do that then. So started planning that, and it's only in the past, I'd say 4 months, that I've sort of got back on the horse. We're shooting a short film not next week, the week after, which I'd written like last year. Just doing another web series that's sort of filmed independently. The idea that I play an agent who's just terrible at their job. And Casey, who's a fabulous actress who was in the web series with me. She plays my client who just rings me every day and wonders why she's not famous yet. This is the basic premise of that. That's being filmed next month. And I just I learned to play the ukulele. I thought, well,
nice.
Put that on my CV. It's the easiest and cheapest instrument to learn.
True.
Do that. Updated my show reel with Ryan, who has a camera. Just sort of did everything that I could do to be like, right, well, now I'm in a position. I feel ready to go. Okay, now I'll be an actor again now.
Yeah.
So just sent messages out to agents and casting directors, all of which have gone ignored, of course. But yeah, I'm sort of just back where I am. I don't feel that, like a lot of people say that lockdown, it's made me learn and appreciate so much. Nah, bollocks. It happened. It's gone. Let's move on. Yeah. I'm not any better or worse off from having had it.
Yeah, no, I completely appreciate that. And I mean, just going back to what you said about the very beginning of lockdown, and there was a lot of this sort of toxic positivity going on social media where people felt like they had to be creative. It was unnecessary. And yeah. I know there was a lot of sort of mixed comments from creatives online about it. Some people were like, oh yeah, you're staying creative, and then some were like, stop, like we have to adjust to this way of living. And at the time we had no idea when it was going to go back to normal. So I can completely appreciate where you're coming from on that front,
because you see a lot of posts of people saying like, in 6 months' time, what will you have to show for this time off? And I was like, well, nothing, because it's not a show and tell, and I don't owe you a thing. If I spent 6 months in bed, that's my business. I don't need to. Nobody owed anybody creativity at any point throughout it.
No,
and like I said before, some of the people that stayed creative through lockdown, the work that they produced was garbage. It's just like, you're not going to look back on that in a year's time and go, I'm so proud of that. You're going to look back on that and go, well, that was a bit, but at least we stayed creative. Yeah, well, good for you, but the work wasn't good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know with us at Blue Balloon, we essentially worked with what we had, which was Zoom and Instagram, Facebook, that kind of thing. So we started up doing sort of like this weekly chats with creatives, just checking in with them, talking about what they'd done that week. It it didn't matter what it was. It could have been doing a bit of gardening. It could have been, I read this book.
Yeah.
And that was something that we really looked forward to. And
that was more helpful and constructive to people like me to watch, to go, oh, look, she's having a depressive episode too. Yay.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, instead of, oh, God, I'm creative. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely relate to that. I mean, for me personally, I did sort of delve into being very creative in that first lockdown. I think that was my way of coping.
Yeah.
I just started making things and editing and, but I was doing it quietly in my own space, in my own time, without broadcasting it to the world. And that helped me cope with what was going on.
Yeah.
But I do agree there was a lot of, people just putting it out there constantly that, whoa, like you said, in 6 months' time, what are you going to have to show for your time in lockdown? And no one needed to prove anything.
No.
But yeah, it was a crazy time, definitely. And it's amazing to hear that now you've started creating things again. But I again can understand and relate to the fact that you don't feel any different after, the past 15, 16 months, because there's been a global pandemic. It's, everyone just wants a little bit of normal, a little bit of what they had before. So the fact that you've managed to sort of get back to that sort of sense of normal in some respect is amazing.
Yeah. That's it. I abhor with every pore of my body this idea that, oh no, this is the new normal. No, I don't want the new normal. I want the old normal. The new normal doesn't inspire creativity. The new normal that I can't sit in a room with someone and communicate and laugh and share and talk. If the new normal is this, that Zoom communication is the only way we can communicate from now on, then decent art will never get made again.
Yeah.
So I'm living my life as normally as I physically can. And I mean the old normal, not the new normal, because it doesn't, if I need to meet up with someone to have a creative discussion, all right, we'll go meet up. We'll walk in a park. We'll do whatever we need to do. I'm not buying into new normal because it doesn't work. I think anyone that thinks new normal will create any decent art is silly.
Yeah. No, you know what? I really admire you for being honest about that, because I think you're one of the first people I've spoken to within these podcasts and the IG lives we've done, where you've said, actually, like, it is silly. I completely agree with you. Like, I'm the same now. Whenever I've met up with someone to discuss something creative, I've been like, right, well, let's meet up, obviously safely. Yeah. But let's have a chat about it. Let's sit for 3 hours and brainstorm like we would have done before.
Yeah.
And then let's go and work on it. Let's make it happen in the way that we can. But yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind of a year, really, hasn't it?
It has, yes. It's sort of just, not much to say other than really, is there? It's just that happened. Yeah.
No, I agree. Sort of moving on from lockdown.
Yes.
I wanted to speak to you about sort of your inspirations. Obviously, the name of this podcast is Be Inspired. And I wanted to ask you, is there anything that you've watched, read, or anything that stayed with you over a period of time that's really sort of inspired you or continued to inspire you as a creative or as a person? Any?
Inspired me as a creative, or obviously there's people that you watch, lots of famous people that you think, oh, look how well they do. I'm a huge fan of Carrie Fisher, who Fabulous Princess Leia. Not just for those films, because they are stunning, but it's sort of her post-Star Wars life. You know, her mental health just went, whew. And she's written about that. She's done sort of one-woman shows where she talks about that. And she has a little quote that she uses. And it's, if my life wasn't funny, it would just be true. And that is unacceptable. And it's the idea that no matter what happens in your life that is horrific, make a joke about it, turn it into humor. And that's through, you know, shitty agents, through mental health struggles. It's like, if we can make a joke about it, it's done then. It can't hurt me anymore. So that's sort of through like failed friendships and relationships, turn it into a joke. It might not be the best coping mechanism. You know, there'll be psychiatrists out there that go, oh, you have got some deep-seated issues here. But yeah, to sort of, if something's painful, let's make a joke about it. Let's laugh about it. That helps. And I think there's just, I watch a lot of, I watch Drag Race, RuPaul, those camp, any of the drag queens, just this energy of, I don't give a shit what you think. I'm just going to do what I want to do. That, I can't necessarily pinpoint a quote, but just that energy. Whenever I see, and even it can just be everyday people, when you speak to someone and you go, there's someone who doesn't give a shit what you think. That inspires me to just be like, yeah, because I don't really give a shit. And every time I find myself giving a shit, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Stop. You literally do not care about this. So just move on. I know I've been reading a lot over lockdown. Kathleen Turner, the actress, has a book about acting, and she talks about it in ways that I'm like, yes, I get this, because every time I've tried to read, you know, Michael Chekhov stuff, I've tried to read Stanislavski stuff, tried to read Stella Adler-Uta-Hagen, and I'm just like, you're making this sound way harder than it needs to be. Why are we trying to make acting a science?
Yeah.
Whereas Kathleen Turner's very much like, you're literally just learning lines and then saying them in a way that doesn't sound like their lines. It's not difficult. I think Edward Norton has a similar approach. Jamie Lee Curtis as well. She's like, why does everyone make it sound difficult? It's sort of, you're just pretending to be somebody else. Some people can do it and some people can't. But once you figure out how to do it, it's done.
Yeah.
Just the difficult part is the businessy shit, trying to get representation, trying to get in the room. That's the hard stuff. Because that helps. Because I've been in rehearsal rooms where I've seen people literally tear themselves apart, you know, annotating scripts. And I'm just like, you look in pain with how hard you're working.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm not to be better than, because if it helps, it helps. Yeah. I'm just like, I've learnt my lines, and I'm just going to pretend to be the person and just say the lines. And that's, I've been asked before, you know, what's your process? And I'm like, I just learn the lines and say them.
Yeah.
Why are we making it sound difficult? Why are we taking the fun out of it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of it as well comes from a lot of money is being made on starving actors. If you come here, if you pay this, you'll be an actor, I promise. And it's like, no, they won't. I know people that have been to classes for years. If anything, you work less because you can't afford to get to auditions anymore because you paid classes.
Yeah.
So when I find actors that sort of just confirm what I already feel about it, that's inspiring. Yeah. I don't know if that answered it.
Yeah,
no, it
definitely did. Definitely. And to be honest, I agree with you. I think there has to be, you can do all the work you want on a character. And like you said, if it works for you, it works for you. And that's great. But don't let it take the fun out of playing that role and doing that job, because that's why we do it, because we love it and it's fun and it's enjoyable. And we're crazy passionate about it, because often actors and creatives are like insanely passionate about what they do. But yeah, I do agree with you. I'm the same when it comes to reading any theory books by like practitioners. I'm just like, it means nothing to me.
Yeah, I think as well, because a lot of, if you're following any method for the only reason that you want to be following that method, then you are going to be giving a worse performance than anybody else on that stage. If it works for you and it genuinely works, do it. Because I've tried it. I've not gone, no, I'm too good at this. I've tried it. I've tried actioning a script. And all that happens is I sit there for 40 minutes going, what's another word for this? Yeah. What does that, what can I use? And it's like, well, this isn't, useful in any way. When you read books about, deciding, where the characters come from, where the character's been, I'm just like, well, if it's in the script, I'll just go off that. If it's not, I'll make it up. If I need to make it up, I genuinely don't think I need to know the date of my character's birth and every single moment that happened in that character's life before this moment in the play in order to play the scene. Usually, if it's good writing, it's all here. Yeah, it's all here. So I don't. What you're effectively saying is work harder for the same results. No, not going to do that. Not at all.
Oh, no, I get that completely. Yeah, no, I think that's a valid point. Ultimately, to anyone listening or watching this podcast, if you are an actor, do what works for you. And, yes. Don't stress if you can't find another word for an action.
No, put the actor's thesaurus down. Burn it if you have to. If it isn't helping, if it doesn't click within the first 10 minutes of reading that actor's thesaurus, it isn't going to. Put it down. You exactly. Don't, it's stupid as well, because sometimes the line is, I want to kill you. And it's like, what word can we use that will help us understand this line? I'm pretty fucking sure I know what the line means. I want to kill you. He wants to kill the other character. Got it. Nailed it. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it. You've hit the nail on the head there. No, I think that's completely valid. Matt, you've kind of touched upon it, but my final question to you is for anybody that wants to get into acting, writing, creating in any form, do you have any advice for them based on your experience?
Don't.
Nice.
You've got to genuinely really want to do it. Yeah. You can't. I wish that I had something else. Not so I could maybe just go, well, I don't need to act anymore, but so that I could, if anything, just earn a living doing something else at this moment in time. Unfortunately, because I was stubborn and just went, I'm just going to put all my eggs in this basket and this is the only thing I can do. The jobs that are paid to do what I can do are few and far between. And then when a paid job just does come up, it's either not very much or there's thousands of people who can do the exact same thing you can do. So yeah, if it's sort of like, oh, should I try this? Don't bother. If you genuinely, I don't know how to describe it. Ask a nun why she wants to be a nun. She just has to. If you don't feel that you have to,
that's it.
Then don't stay at home, earn a living. I wish I've worked in like bars before now, and it's like, do you want to go onto the management program, train to be a manager? And I've gone, no, I'm going to be a star. I don't need this. And now I'm like, oh, if I'd have done that, I could have potentially been running my own barn by now, had my own house and had the freedom. But ultimately, I'd have probably been miserable because I hated bar work. So it's sort of, I wish there was something else I enjoyed. And I've tried over lockdown. I had a beauty therapist friend who taught me how to do brows and was like, oh, I could do this. I could, throw myself into this for a bit and learn how to do eyebrows and that'll earn me some money. And then after a bit, I was just like, nah, I hate it. And I'm just like, so unless you have to, don't, because it's, it's not a coincidence that every actor is depressed. It's been, you're constantly told, no, you will never feel that you are good enough because you're sort of never given reason to. And then you can find interviews with celebrities who have, won Oscars, a lot of it, and they'll tell you the same thing. It doesn't fill that. The work itself fills that. So yeah, if you don't have to, just don't.
Yeah.
Which is a nice lesson for just any aspect of life. If you don't have to, don't.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. You know what? It kind of applies to anyone that has sort of bad mental health in any respect. I know for me, I suffer with depression and anxiety. And recently, no matter what it is that's going on, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, I just have this complete feeling of dread before it.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep saying to myself, like, you need to do what makes you happy. Even if you get anxious beforehand, just make sure that you know that thing you have to do is going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're just feeling all this anxiety and dread for no reason.
No.
You know? So you're completely right. If you don't have to do it, don't. You know.
I think as well with actors, it's so we're all depressed. I've never met an actor that isn't, ever. So it's like we have to, we're told, you have to focus on your mental health, but because working and earning a living is just tied up with mental health so much.
Yeah.
And I fail at this all the time. There are weeks where I don't, and there are weeks when I just fail. We have to stop putting whether or not we're working as the goal.
Yeah.
It's sort of, I'm getting to a point, so like I say, some weeks I fail, but where I'm like, there could be a huge probability that I will leave this earthly realm. I'll have never been on telly. I'll have never made millions. I'll never have a house in Malibu. I'll have never won an Oscar. I'll have never got to work with Meryl Streep. All these things I want to do. You might never, ever, you could potentially never have been paid for an acting job ever again. These things are all not possibilities, probabilities. So why am I going? Well, that's the goal then. Maybe have a different goal. Maybe fair enough, be passionate, be ambitious. But in order to decide what gives us our self-worth, it can't be that. It can't be, because ultimately it will potentially never happen, or happen so infrequently that we'll then find something else to be happy about. And then if it does happen, it's sort of a shallow reason for feeling good about yourself, because it doesn't mean anything. It just means that you got told yes one day at an audition.
Yeah. Fair
enough, you've got more money, which, more money would, if a lot of depressed people had more money, it would probably solve some of their issues, because money is a huge issue for people.
Yeah.
But it's like, find other things that I don't have an answer for what that'll be. If you have a partner, I know for myself, there are sometimes when I don't give my partner as much attention, because I'm an actor and I've got to be ambitious and I've got to think about this and I've got to write this script. So,
yeah.
And it's just like, at the end of the day, even if this script does, the BBC said, yeah, we want your script, and I make thousands from it, that doesn't mean anything. Ring your mum, have those, I think a lot of people cut out social interactions with people that genuinely care about them in the name of ambition. I can't do this because I've got to do this because it's for the career. Yeah, the career don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's
exactly.
when if you get there, brilliant. But it's not a nice feeling to say to depressed actors, you might never make it, you might die, and nothing will happen. But once you accept it, it does become somewhat freeing, because you're like, okay,
yeah.
So what's the new dream? So now I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to still be able to work with Meryl if she ever wanted me to. But now I'm like, I just want my own place. So me and my partner started looking for a house. Yes, we'll have to private rent. We can't afford it, but at least it'll be my place then.
Yeah.
It's my home. That's the new dream. Let's just this is my house and it's mine, and I will decorate it with as much leopard print as I can, because it's mine. It's my house. So that's the new dream. Find something like that. Find something that, you want to learn. I've learned ukulele. I mean, it's a really piss easy instrument. So if you want it to fulfill the void, maybe pick an instrument that'll take a bit longer, but, learn something. If it can't be, you can't tie your self-worth up in being an actor anymore, because that's how you get more depressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, don't pin your happiness on getting work as well.
Yeah.
Like, just generally, I've learned that And at first, when I first graduated, I found it incredibly hard, because there was like, there'd be 6 months where I wouldn't be acting, and I'd be like, oh my God, like, I'm so depressed. Why am I not working? But I am naturally a very busy person. I like to keep myself busy doing whatever it is that I'm doing. You know, whether that's acting related or creative, or whether it's looking after my plants or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's always been that part of me personally where I've wanted to be busy, just to give myself that sense of ease of being like, okay, you've accomplished something today. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's not acting related. It really doesn't. And as you've rightly said, it's about, be passionate about what you do, absolutely. But don't run yourself ragged, basically. No. Don't pin all of your happiness on that end goal of getting that big job on TV, because that's going to end. That job will come to an end, and then what happens? So yeah, I think that's really sound advice, to be honest. Really sound. Yeah. What a great chat. This is a good chat.
I hope it didn't depress too many people.
Oh, don't be silly. No, you know what? I appreciate it though, because often, we'll chat to actors, directors, whoever, any sort of creative, and it's always very very positive, and like, yes, I've done this, and go for your dreams, and this, that, and the other, and that's fantastic.
I think it's because that's, go for your dreams, and I'm sure every actor that ever listens to this, or two of them, will will say, or will have heard be said to them, you're going to be successful. You have to be thinking about this every waking moment, and you need to put this above all else. No, if anybody tells you that, just slap them, because it's just damaging. I have a friend whose agent once sent them an email basically saying, I don't think this was during lockdown as well, don't think you're working hard enough on your career. If you're going to be successful in this industry, you need to be thinking about this every waking moment of the day. You need it more than the air you breathe. And I'm just like, what you've effectively told her, he said, you need to be more depressed. You need to, that is just dangerous advice. You shouldn't be thinking about this every waking moment. Can you imagine if somebody worked at Asda and they thought about Asda every waking moment and they couldn't wait to get back behind the till? You'd think, you're fucking insane.
Yeah.
It's a job. We shouldn't be this upset about, focused on it. So yeah, there's no business like show business. It's just, it's not positive. You've got to.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to work hard in any industry that you choose to work in any career path that you choose to take on. And acting and being a creative is no different. I mean, some of the people that I know work incredibly hard for what they want to achieve. And I kudos to them, because that's fantastic, this want to achieve. But you do have to draw a line sometimes, and you have to say, right, is this, is how hard I'm working and how tired I am because of it making me genuinely happy? Is it going to fulfill me in a week from now, in a month from now, in a year from now? And like you've said, I mean, I wish you and your partner all the best in getting a house, because that's the dream, isn't it? Just to have somewhere of your own, and know that it's your place. And I mean, there's so many actors out there that are blooming renting, and God knows when they're going to get a house. It's really tough. It is tough.
That's you just sort of like, I could potentially never be in a financial position to own my own house.
Yeah.
But that isn't rare. My mum doesn't own her own house. My nan has never owned her own house. No one in my immediate family, no one in my partner's immediate family has ever owned property.
Yeah.
Because the system's rigged. You're never going to. You were born into a working class family. The chances of you being able to purchase property is very slim. So instead of instead of striving, I've known people that are literally in mortgages, and it's like, you are going to be paying this until you're 90. The mortgage will outlive you. You're not going to be able to be here when this mortgage is paid. So it's just like, just people that say like, no, renting's just throwing money away. It's my house. I might not own it, but it's mine. I'm renting it. My name's on the lease. I can decorate it. I can decide who comes into this house, if they come into this house, and for how long they stay. It's mine.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. Completely right. Well, what a joyous chat.
I know, we tried to end it on a positive note, and it just went straight back to depression.
No, you know what? It's the reality of it, isn't it? And it's the reality of our lives as creatives. And it is so good to be honest about that, because if we weren't, we'd just crash all the time. It'd get to a point where the positivity would only last for so long. And we'd crash, and then it'd be the same cycle. But being honest about it is what helps us find a sort of happy medium in a way. But yeah, I mean, absolutely wonderful chat. Like, genuinely, thank you so much.
Yes, no, thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. I'm loving the leopard print shirt, by the way.
Thank you. It's one of many.
If anyone wants to find you on social media or your production company, where can we find you?
So the production company is on Facebook, No Rose Productions. I think we'll come up if you type it in. It's a fairly thingy name. If not, for whatever reason, I think at No Rose Prod, we'll bring it up. We're also on Twitter at No Rose Prod UK. Cool. I'm on Twitter at the Paul Anthony, or the Paul Anthony. Paul Anthony was taken. At the moment, because we've sort of got the film coming up, I'm not tweeting. I go through phases. There'll be like 6 months where I don't tweet, and then I'll just tweet incessantly for a month, and then I'll stop again. But yeah, we have a short film coming out and a web series coming out soon. So at some point I will have to get my eyes into gear and start promoting that. So it'll be on there.
Amazing. Well, we look forward to
I'm on Spotlight
those
as well, if any agents are interested.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much again for your time and your honesty today. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you. And yeah, we look forward to seeing all your upcoming projects with your production company. You're welcome. For everyone that's been watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and a comment on the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to have you. And if you're on Spotify, Anchor, or any of the other audio streaming services, follow us on there as well. Stay in tune. Stay up to date. And tune in is what I meant to say.
We got there.
Yeah, we got there in the end. Tune into our future podcasts as well. This is only episode 2 of our second season. So yeah, we've got a smashing lineup. And yeah, just thank you again, Paul, for joining me today.
Thank you.
See you soon, guys.
Bye.